Hey everybody, my name is Ted Forbes and welcome back to another episode of The Art of Photography. And in this episode I want to talk about websites, and I want to talk about what your website looks like, what my website looks like. The last episode that we did, we started talking about what it means to be a professional photographer and what it means. You know, there are many ways you can do this. There are many levels that people do this on. Maybe you're a full-time professional or maybe somebody who's just very part-time, and how this differs from being an amateur photographer. And I want to make it very clear, and you know, a couple people made comments about this, and I totally agree with this, is that, you know, skill level is not dependent on whether you make a living as a photographer or not, nor does happiness. And I think that's really important to say it up front, that you don't have to be a working professional photographer. In fact, I always argue that it may be more difficult once you introduce money into the picture. You have deadlines, you have things where you have to produce work, and it starts putting pressure on the artistic side of things, and that can be difficult to handle sometimes. It's definitely a stumbling block, and I think the better professional photographers certainly find ways to get through that. But anyway, what I'm saying is, just because you make a living as a photographer does not bear any resemblance on skill level, how good you are, how much enjoyment you pull from it, those kinds of things. But since we are talking about being a professional and what it means to be a professional, I want to start breaking this down into some smaller episodes where we can talk and get more into the details of, you know, what kinds of things are available, how they're defined, you know, how you break into stuff. There is a ton of information. People like to do videos and blog about this a lot, and some of them are pretty good, and there's a lot of misinformation out there too. And so hopefully we can look at it from a more analytical approach with some real world examples. So that's kind of where I'm going with this. But in today's particular episode, I want to talk about websites. And I think I'm going to make an argument here that websites are important whether you're a professional or not. It's displaying your work. It's having that resource online. It's being able to direct somebody to just see your website. You could make the argument that things like 500px and Flickr do a great job of this, and they do. The only argument that I would say against either one of those platforms, and really why not do all of them, but you know, when you have a situation like 500px or Flickr where there's other people on there as well, and you really want somebody to focus on your work and not be distracted by, you know, the more community aspects of things. So that's where I think a personal website differs in a lot of ways. I've always kept a personal website, and most of you probably do too. And ask yourself this, and be honest. How often do you keep your website updated? Is it up to date right now? And I'm talking about work, I'm talking about your bio, I'm talking about just the site in general. Is it old? Is it new? And in all honesty, mine has not been updated in a while, and that's one of the projects that I've got going this summer, is kind of rejiggering my portfolio a little bit, adding some new stuff, making sure the text and the copy are all updated, and so on and so forth. So I will kind of chronicle as we're going along and doing that. And you know, you probably will find that interesting as well to see, you know, as we kind of work on this together. But I want to talk about what goes into a website, some of the nuts and bolts. And from a philosophical standpoint, this has always been, you know, kind of my pitch, is that, you know, I think you should keep a photography portfolio online, and I think you should keep something that is a blog or something similar where you're updating it with new work. And I think this is important for a number of reasons. One, it keeps you moving, it keeps you on your game, it keeps you shooting photos, and it gives you something to strive for. So really making sure that your website is current, I think, is a really big deal. I think it's a big deal, for nothing else, in your process as a photographer, that you're sharing that online publicly. Some people have mixed feelings about this, some people aren't as comfortable with that, but that's a real, and that can be a barrier, it can be a comfort zone that you're trying to get through. So anyway, all this to say, what I want to do is go over to the computer, I want to look at some examples, and I want to talk about what all is involved with having your own website, including expenses and stuff like that. So come on over and let's have a look. Okay, so we're going to talk about websites today, and up front I want to clarify, I'm not talking about doing an account on Flickr or 500px or something like that, or even Tumblr. Those are all wonderful services, there's nothing wrong with them, but they serve a different purpose. There's a social element that's involved, and I'm talking about a place where you could send clients to, or people who want to look at your work, and you don't want them to be distracted by other accounts, things like that. So having your own website that you can completely control the layout, the design, the work that goes on here, keep it updated, keep it fresh, a place you can really call your own on the web is very important. And that's what we're talking about here today. And, you know, the solutions I'm going to show you, I've had trouble finding anything. I mean, you're going to have to pay something for these. finding a free service I just don't recommend it. I think that this is something you don't have to spend a lot of money on it, but there just is a little bit of a factor of that, just so you'll know. And I'll talk about what you need and what you need to pay for. And basically, there's two things you need for a website. You need a domain name. So if you're not familiar with that, that would be like tedforbes.com or theartofphotography.tv, and that's where people use to get to your site. And you need hosting, which is basically the company that's going to own the servers that serve your files to the internet. And I would also recommend that you use some kind of content management system. And I'm going to show you how these are kind of bundled together a little bit. And none of this costs a lot. You can easily do a website for, web domains cost typically anywhere from $9 to $15 and up, depending on what, top level extension you have. .coms are usually the most common, and anywhere from about $10 to $15 a year is what you're going to spend on that. I mean, I've just said a month, I meant a year. So that's that one cost, which isn't much. And hosting you can find fairly cheaply too, and I'll talk about that as we wrap into content management systems here. Now, there's two content management systems that I recommend, and we're looking at WordPress right here, and we're going to come back to that and look at a little bit of how-to in a second. Another one that I think is really good is a company called Squarespace. And I've talked about them on here before. Squarespace really do a brilliant job. Full disclosure, they have been a show sponsor, but I would not advertise them if I didn't think highly of them. They've redesigned their homepage, as you can see, and it's pretty wild. They have beautiful templates in here. They have wonderful design layouts. The accounts on here start around $16 a month. But you get everything rolled into that. You can register for your domain name here, and they will take care of that. And then everything is drag and drop. It really is the most simple user interface. So if you really are not into any kind of computer coding and want to make this as simple as possible, Squarespace is an awesome place to go and have this done. I have a demo account through them that I like a lot. Literally everything is just drag and drop, and you just build your stuff and start with a template, and they really have a wonderful system here for doing a website that basically is based off of templates but doesn't feel like it. They're very photo friendly, very photographer friendly. They're a wonderful option. Now, they do cost a little bit more. They're $15 a month and $16 a month and up. So that is one way you could go. I think another solution that I really like a lot is to use WordPress. And now let me talk about this. WordPress is a open source, so it means the software is actually free. System. And there are two versions of WordPress. There's WordPress.com and there's WordPress.org. And the .com one is more like Tumblr, and that's not the one I'm talking about. It is the same software, but they host it on the .com. You can do everything there. It is for the most part free. They upsell you on a few things if you need video features and the like, but you could do it through .com. You have more flexibility if you host it yourself. And so what you want to do is you can go through WordPress.org if you already have a hosting service and go through the instructions, and it'll show you how to install it. The company that I prefer and recommend to people if you're going to go for WordPress is a company called Bluehost. And I recommend Bluehost because they're very, very inexpensive. We're talking $5 a month, so on their homepage. Now, with full disclosure on that, I do have an affiliate link that you guys can use on this, and I will put that in the show notes. And basically, it doesn't cost you any more money, but it just tells them that I referred you, and I do get a kickback from that. So you can support the show if you decide Bluehost is what you want to do. Bluehost are great. They have a full control panel in here. Once you get your account, and you really don't need any add-ons. You can do it on the base account at $5 a month. That's what I've done. And basically what you'll do is sign up for that, and then when you log into your control panel, they have what they call one-click install. So you can just one-click install WordPress, and it installs it, and you're good to go, and you don't have to really install anything. So much like Squarespace now, you don't have to do a lot of coding. Now, within WordPress, you do have some really cool options. There are a ton of themes out there and stuff you can choose from. You can design your own. If you are a coder at all, you'll probably prefer WordPress because you can code your own stuff into it. So it's very, very flexible. If you're looking for WordPress themes, the one that I usually recommend is a company called Theme Trust. Let me get this in here right. themetrust.com. They have some wonderful photography related themes in here. And essentially, if you're going to create a photography website, you might have a blog on there, but you don't want the whole thing to feel just like a blog, which is why I don't recommend some of the other stuff, like WordPress.com necessarily, but you want to be able to customize and do your own themes. And Theme Trust just have some amazing stuff in here, and I've recommended them. It's been a while, but I've talked about them on the show before. Again, I'll have a link to this in the show notes, and if you want to support the podcast, you can use that as well. Some of my favorites, and they have some new ones in here, e-commerce themes and stuff like that if you want to sell stuff. The Hero theme is still one of my favorites. favorites. You can go in here and view a live demo. And basically, it's very photo friendly. It's got this kind of cool thing where you can do a background image, and it works really well. And the cool thing about the Theme Trust themes is, let's see if they have it going on right now. Yeah, you can get buy one, get one free. So you can basically get 2 themes and try them out if you're having trouble deciding which one you like. Very cool, great company, great support. And between that and Bluehost, you are set up with WordPress and you're ready to go. And I'll show you a couple things too. About WordPress when you're working on it. This is just the front end and the basic theme that WordPress ships with, which is very vanilla, plain Jane. If I go in here and I go to my WP admin, and we'll go ahead and log into this. And okay, so we are in the WordPress dashboard now, and this is where you control your content. And I can go visit site, and it keeps this admin toolbar on the top of the screen, so I can easily add a new post, page, whatever. And I'll talk about how WordPress is set up. There are basically different types of content you can put in here. You have posts, and posts are like blog posts, so they're going to file off in chronological order and, act like a blog. And that's a great way to do, news, updated content, learn how to write about your work, some important things. There's also media, so we can upload images and deal with that. We'll come back to that in a second. And then you also have pages, which is more static content. I typically do my portfolios in pages rather than blog posts because they're just different. They're not chronological, not dependent on each other. And then, of course, you've got comments, too, if you choose to use those in your website as well. And I'll show you real quick, because I haven't done this in a video before, how easy it is to do a gallery in the new version of WordPress that's out. And so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go under New, and I'm going to select a new page. And we're just going to title this Botanicals. And I've got some flower images I'm going to put on here. So let's go ahead. You can save the draft. Let's go ahead and publish it. And so you can see when you publish it that now I can go visit my website, and I now have a link that says Botanicals in here. You can delete the sample content that's in here. So if I go to Botanicals, what we're going to do is let's edit this page. And I'm going to do a couple things here. What we're going to do is we're going to add a gallery of images. I'm going to show you how easy this is to do. If you go down here and say Add Media, and you can literally drag and drop. So let's go back over to the desktop here. I'm going to take all these botanical images, and I'm going to drop them onto WordPress. And you're going to see that it's going to build thumbnails and go around and do my gallery, basically, and we're good. Now, what I want to do here is I'm going to create a gallery, which is a little different. I want all of these inserted in the post, but we're going to do some stuff with them. So I can go over here under Create Gallery, and it's going to give me all my images in here. Let's say Create a New Gallery. And I can drag and drop these if I want to change the order. I can add captions if I want. I can do reverse order. Get everything looking exactly how you want it. Here's all my flower images. And I can just go ahead and say Insert Gallery. And it gives me a little placeholder because we're not looking at the live website. It's just telling me there's a gallery there. What we're going to do is click Update. And now if we go View Page, you can see that we now have a gallery of thumbnail images in here. And when I click on one of them, they go to their own page. And it works pretty nicely. It's pretty cool. And so anyway, that's essentially how you would do a gallery. The other thing you can do on here, see how I have this sidebar over here with comments and categories and all this stuff? You may not want that. And if I go Edit Page again, if I look over on the right, and this is with the default template that ships with WordPress. It's very minimal, very nice looking, very elegant. If I go under Template, I can choose a full width, no template, no sidebar. Sorry, full width page template, no sidebar. Say Update. Now when I go View Page, I get a better looking gallery with no sidebar in it. I'm still really not wild about this layout, and I'm going to give you guys a little heads up on something I've been working on, which I do code with WordPress, and I like it a lot. If we go over to our dashboard, and what I want to do is go down to Plugins, and let's look at the installed plugins. I have a plugin that I'm building just because I don't like the way WordPress handles galleries very nicely, but I don't like the way they look. And so what I've done is I've created a plugin, and I'm actually going to have this available for download. It's not ready just yet, but if you give me a couple weeks, hopefully by midsummer here, we'll be good to go on this. I'm going to go ahead and activate the Focus Gallery plugin, and all this plugin does is I've written this to go in and basically anywhere it sees an instance of a gallery, just to change the way it looks. And so if I turn the plugin off and deactivate it, it goes back to normal. So if it doesn't work or you're not into it or whatever, you can always go back. It doesn't destroy anything. So let's go back and visit our site now. And if I look at Botanicals now, you'll see that this plugin, the way I like to see them displayed, is in columns. And I like to be able to control the width of the column, which you'll be able to do with the plugin and all that. And the other thing that's really nice is it's responsive. So if I resize the page, you're going to notice that the thumbnails, and it has animation to it even, I can go resize what I want that gallery, but everything will lay more evenly on the page. The other thing it does is it rewrites the gallery. So when I click on one of these images to view it larger, it's going to use Lightbox to open it up and display it like that. So you don't have to leave the page and go to another page. You can just do it here. This is just how I prefer to see galleries. And like I said, I will have this plugin available eventually. It's little tweaks here and there, and we're good to go. The other thing you can do, which is really nice, is if I go under my dashboard, I can go change my themes. And if you buy one of the themes from Theme Trust, you just upload it to your website. And you can do it through here. If you go to Appearance and say Themes, you can add a new one. And that way, if you go to Install Themes, you would go upload your zip file. But if we go to Manage Themes, and here's another theme that I'm working on for my portfolio, which is focus.nu on that website. I'll put all these links in the show notes too. But if I activate this theme, and again, this isn't quite ready yet, but it's one I'm working on. I go visit Site Now, and it looks like my Focus website. If I go to my Botanicals page, there they are. And so you can change the look, the feel, the layout. A lot of themes have options in them. So it just depends on what you want to do. As you can see, there's a little bit more to do with WordPress. I think you get more flexibility and you have more ownership over your content. Squarespace is different. Squarespace is for people who want to really keep it super easy and don't mind paying a little bit more a month to do it. Both are wonderful solutions, and like I said, I recommend them both. And you know, it just depends on your style and what you like to do. The most important thing is to get your content up, get it going, be able to organize it, be able to look at it objectively like this, and get rolling. And you know, the platform is less important as what you're doing with your website. So like I said, if you want to keep it easy, I'd use Squarespace. You know, if you're more into the control aspect and want more variety in themes and stuff, WordPress is excellent. So anyway, a couple other things that I can show you here. If you look up at the top of the screen, and I'm running this locally on this computer, but if I look over here at the end of the URL, you get this question mark page ID equals 24. This is something you should change when you install WordPress, and I'll show you how to do it. If you go back to the dashboard, I'm going to go under Settings, and I'm going to go down to what they call permalinks, okay? And permalinks, basically, this is what do you want your URL to look like. And I know it looks sloppy because I'm running it on the local host here, which means it's just running on my computer. It's not actually on the internet. But if I go down and I change it just to post name, for instance, let's save changes. Let's go back to the website. And let's go to the Botanicals page again. Now you can see the URL up here rather than having a bunch of question marks and numbers. Let's say this were on my website. It would be tedforbes.com or focus.nu/botanicals. So much cleaner way. Google likes this for search. It's easier to send people a link and not have it look crummy. It just works really nicely. One other thing that I'm going to show you that's really cool, and it is also free in here, is if I go over to my plugins. I've already installed it on here, but there's a plugin that you can get for free that's pretty nice called WP Retina 2X. And this ensures that all your images will display correctly on Retina screens. And so this includes like the new MacBook Pro computers that have come out that have real high resolution screens, iPads, iPhones, all the stuff, which has, you know, Retina screens. Basically, if you don't use this plugin, things can look kind of grainy and you know, low quality. Install the plugin, and basically you have to run it if you've already got images in there, but it's real easy to use. You'll go ahead and run it, and what it does is it ensures, and we're actually recording this on a Retina screen right now, but it ensures that you have the high resolution image in there. So nice stuff. Anyway, like I said, I will put all the links to the show notes. I know this was just kind of a how-to, but remember, you want to get your domain name. So bobsmithphotography.com or whatever your name is, you want to get that secured, and you can do all this if you decide to go with Squarespace or Bluehost, either one, and they are transferable, and so is all the content in WordPress. So if you start in WordPress and decide you want to upgrade to Squarespace later, there's a way just to export your entire website and bring it right into Squarespace, which saves a lot of time and hassle. And you know, I like these two solutions because it's easy to move between them. They're both very user-friendly, and you know, I just think that there's some good stuff going on there both. So we've looked at both WordPress and Squarespace. Okay, so we've covered a lot of information on photography websites here today, and I hope you've gotten something out of this, and hope the takeaway is that, you know, it's really important to do your own thing. It's really important to have your own site, and it's really important to view your body of work in a way, I think objectively, that you want to push yourself yourself to do better. You want to, you know, further your boundaries and your own abilities. And I think being able to look at your work in a context like that, particularly that it's public and you can get feedback from others, is really important. So anyway, if you have a website, I would suggest, you know, taking a couple months here this summer and really focusing on tightening up that portfolio, getting it current. If you don't have a website, start somewhere. Start from scratch. I've given you all the tools today, so get out there and make something happen. Anyway, once again, guys, this has been The Art of Photography. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys next time. Later.